In this video, we're going to be talking about why truckers are joining Texas border control by convoy.
We're going to be breaking down 5 reasons why securing our border is crucial, not only to the country, but cities at large as well.
Reason number 1, homeless concerns.
You know, the first thing is, it's not just Mexicans coming across the border, it's all kinds of immigrants coming across. It says Chinese people are leading the immigrants that are coming across, and they're invading our cities.
Now the majority are fleeing Venezuela, Cuba, Nicaragua, and Haiti. Some are even coming from as far away as China and Afghanistan.
Only all kind of ages, all kind of nationalities, but different backgrounds, social backgrounds, people with degrees, engineers, medical doctors, lawyers, architects.
So we got to think about it. We already have a problem in America with homelessness. Now we're going to add thousands or millions of people per year if we leave the border open. So I kind of understand why it's causing a debate.
Marvin, it really concerns me because we're already overcrowded in our shelters, and we have so many people that are on the streets that doesn't have a place to stay. So just think about it. How is this really going to impact us?
Listen to this story right here about homeless shelters.
They're literally kicking homeless veterans out of hotels and replacing them with migrants, which tracks with the left because they prize illegals more than they prize people who serve their country. And they're incentivizing these hotels by paying them $100 a night extra to house the illegal immigrants. And the average hotel price that this is costing the city is $198 per night, which, by the way, that's a pretty hefty hotel price for any American anywhere in this country. So who's paying for it? I'm paying for it. The American taxpayers are paying for it, Rita.
Wow, just listening to this story is really heartbreaking. I'm not against them coming to our country, but there is a way to go about it so that we don't collapse our economy.
Reason number 2, rising crime rates.
Let's jump into the issue of crime. I know these immigrants are seeking a new way of life and will probably contribute positively to our society. However, unregulated borders can also pave the way for criminals, and it can also impact our community in a negative way.
Yeah, Gloria, I believe you're right on that. You know, they talked about that the cartels actually control the Mexican border. They pay more to get MS-13 gang members who are Mexican gang members across the border. Or, you know, you got to look at it. Fentanyl is the #1 cause of death with drugs now. And that's what's happening with some of the immigrants that are coming across. And I mean, look at what's happening in crime. Look at this story about what happened to these cops in New York.
We begin tonight with a disturbing crime caught on camera showing a group of people punching and kicking 2 NYPD officers in Times Square over the weekend. So far, 5 arrests have been made, but 4 of those suspects have already been released on bail.
Police say it was up to 12 men that attacked 2 officers. Now, law enforcement officials say that these men were migrants. These are supposed asylum seekers. The NYPD reacting to surveillance video taken from West 42nd Street in Times Square around 8:30 Saturday night. Police say a group of up to 12 men was being disorderly. 2 officers told them to move along. The gang looks like they're going to comply, but when the officers try to take one uncooperative man in a yellow shirt into custody, around 7 others surround them, punching and kicking the officers in the head and in the body while they are on the ground. Eventually, officers were able to find and arrest 4 of the gang. A 5th was arrested Monday. But once cops brought them in, bail reform laws allowed them to go free, something that most likely wouldn't have happened in their home countries, according to the NYPD.
Again, consequences for your actions. They should be sitting in Rikers. They should have been indicted this week and have their day in court and go to jail. You want to know why our cops are getting assaulted? There's no consequences. And we must change this. End of story.
Okay, Marvin, you see what some of these policies that we have put in place, you know, just to protect some of our poor people? Well, bail reform, it has let these immigrants out of jail and they actually committed a crime and there's no consequences. What does that say for our nation? So Marvin, does that mean they're going to go from state to state committing crimes with no consequences?
I mean, it looks like it's possible. You know, if we want crime to go down in our states, we got to get control over our borders.
Reason number 3, impact on our school system.
You know, bringing in illegal immigrants, if they're bringing in children with them, it can overburden our school systems, which are already bogged down. You know, states like Florida are already having trouble with kids meeting the normal grade levels. So bringing in illegal immigrants is only going to burden our schools even more and hurt the Americans who have children that are already in school. And look, you guys, while we're talking about all this, drop some comments below. Have you been affected in any kind of way by crime or, you know, seen more homelessness in your state? Drop comments and let's discuss this.
Marvin, you know, it's really sad because our school system is already broken. I have friends that are fighting to get their kids in a better district. And if we're already going through this, just imagine bringing more people into our country illegally, what this is going to do to our school system, and what does this teach our children?
You know what I think, Gloria? I think it's going to overload the public school systems. And then you got people paying so much to have their kids in private school because they're trying to keep them away from things like poverty or keep them away from crime. And I think it's just going to cause a strain on the American people.
I understand that, Marvin, but what about the middle class, average working family that can't afford private school? How does this affect them and their child's education going forward?
Reason number 4, the political landscape.
Listen to this newsreel about how these politicians are going back and forth with each other.
The first procedural vote is Wednesday, and that procedural vote is literally just open it up to be able to go through it and to be able to say, are we going to debate it this week? That's what Senator Lee is actually talking about. It's interesting that he said he's already opposed to it. He needs 3 weeks to be able to read it, but he's already opposed to it. Again, people have got to be able to read it, go through it themselves. Don't just go off a Facebook post somewhere what the bill says. This dramatically changes asylum. It dramatically changes deportations. We no longer have a 10-year backlog. It builds more wall. Those are the key things that it actually does. But read it for yourselves. Don't just believe what's online.
You know, we really need to stop it and look at the issue at hand and come to some type of agreement, because with us fighting back and forth and Democrats versus Republicans, and no one is really sitting down fixing the problem, and all of these illegal immigrants keep coming over, thousands at a time.
You know, Gloria, after listening to that story, you'll get confused, and you get confused on which side to be on. But I'm on the side of safety for Americans. And, you know, instead of going back and forth, let's just fix it. I like what Governor Abbott did because only 3 illegals got through versus it used to be thousands getting through per day. So I think if he did it over a weekend, why can't we do it as a country all year long?
Because Joe Biden has completely abdicated and abandoned his responsibility to enforce the laws of the United States. I have used a clause in the Constitution that empowers states to defend themselves. It's Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3.
Good point, Marvin. And while we were studying this, I didn't realize that Texas is 60% of the border. So just imagine there's entries in Texas, Arizona, California. So we really have to narrow this down. We've had this problem for quite some time, but I think this is the worst that it has been. Our politicians have to sit down and come to some type of agreement so we can get a resolution.
And Gloria, I just recently heard the mayor of New York is giving out $53 million in prepaid cards to immigrants and giving them like $1,000 per family to go to bodegas and grocery stores to get food. I mean, 53 million, that's a lot of money.
So the mayor announced a new $53 million plan to give migrants prepaid meal cards. Adams says this is cheaper in the long run. Critics say, no, it isn't. You shouldn't be spending any of this money, and it's only going to encourage migrants to come to the Big Apple. And taxpayers are going to have to pay for it, and they're going to wind up getting things that the taxpayers who are paying for it can't get. Let's debate.
Marvin, my heart goes out because this is such a touchy situation for me. You know, I understand both ends of the coin, but for the governor to be giving out that type of money, and we have our own issues, so we're letting immigrants come into our country and they're taking away from the people, the homeless people that already needed help.
Yeah, it seems unfair. I mean, we got veterans that have been in wars. who need this money, or homeless people that are Americans that fell on hard times. But now we're giving out free food and feeding other countries that are coming to live here and burdening our systems. Something's got to change.
Reason number 5, the issue with cheap labor.
You know, Gloria, I had a construction company when I was young, when I started my very first business. And I'll be honest, you know, the workers that I had were illegal aliens, and you know, they were Hispanic. And I want to say they were the best workers I had. One thing I could say that Americans need to work on, we need to learn how to work again, how to show up for a job and not get beat out by the illegal immigrants. Because when you think about it, in restaurants, construction jobs, any kind of manual labor, the illegal immigrants are beating out the Americans when it comes to getting a job. They're going to work longer and work harder.
And Marvin, you're right. We have a restaurant, and finding good labor is really hard. And a lot of times these business owners are looking for people that are willing to work. And these immigrants that are coming over, sometimes they're hard workers and they're looking for work. So it makes it a lot easier for employers to want to hire them because they know they're going to get a good rate and a hard worker.
And you know, it makes you wonder, are the politicians letting the border stay open for a reason? In order to get cheap labor? I mean, it kind of seems like it, because when you look at this one section of the border they were talking about, it's on TikTok, how to get through the border, a step-by-step plan that shows Chinese people or foreigners how to get across the border. Now, are we serious?
Securing our border is a very complex issue. So we most definitely have to come to the table and some type of agreement of how we're going to fix all of these issues. I know that everyone wants to have a better way of life. So drop a comment. Let us know your thoughts on this. And please be respectful. I know that this is a hot topic.
And you know, Gloria, this has been a problem for a long time. So hopefully this is an election year. So, you know, I think we're going to hear about this a lot. But hopefully both parties come together, make an agreement, and secure our borders, because it's for the better of the nation. And look, if you guys are looking to start a business, you ought to check out this next video. I'm Mr. Smith.
And I'm Mrs. Smith.
And we're here to help empower your finances.